Welcome, everyone, to season two, episode four of our youth panel discussion. Today's discussion focuses on a topic that touches all of our lives in one way or another: the relationship between parents and young adults. This stage of life comes with growth, change, independence, and sometimes tension. Young adults are learning how to make their own decisions, while parents are learning how to guide without controlling. And in between, communication can get lost, sometimes get lost. Our goal today is not to argue, but to understand, not to blame, but to build, and not to speak, but to truly listen. So let's get into our first questions. But before I do, I want to announce our panelists. I have Mr. Hamilton on. I have Miss Wilson on. I have Miss Kathleen on. So let's get into our first discussion. I'm going to start with you, Samantha. What
Okay.
do you think parents often misunderstand about young adults today?
Everything.
Okay, give us one example.
I would say first, I think parents misunderstand emotions. I would say a lot of times where they don't really understand what the child is trying to express to them because they're interpreting whatever the child is saying and how they're saying it in their mind and how they're brought up. So I don't think they know how to empathize with their child. I think they just try to their best to guide them through what they experience and how they should experience it.
Got it. Got it. Okay, let us have this like a free flowing conversations. The other panelists, you can just jump in. The question was, what do you think parents often misunderstand about young adults today?
I agree a lot with what Samantha was saying. I would also add some things that parents will misunderstand is the societal pressures that are put on young adults, like trying to fit in, trying to figure out what your identity is outside of just being a daughter or a son of your parents, like figuring out who you are. And then also like the distractions that are out there. I feel like there's even more distractions than there was when my parents were in their teens or when they were young adults themselves. It's just so many things that are going on, and it's pretty difficult being a young adult at this time.
You know, you said something that sparked my interest, Catlin. You mentioned identity. What identity? Some parents will tell a young person, you have no identity. You ain't old enough to have an identity. What would you say to that? How would you respond?
I mean, I definitely would disagree. Initially, like when a child is very young, they kind of like have similar opinions to their parents because that's really all that they know, right? They grow up in the same house as their parents and so on. And then once when they get into like middle school, high school, it's like they start finding different things that they like. And based on that, sometimes, oh, my light just went out. But based on that, sometimes it's like they start seeing themselves shift. They start fitting in with different groups of people that may not have the same type of mindsets that their parents do. Um,
Okay.
and because of that, that can kind of change what their identity was initially. So it's like they could go from being like, okay, I'm someone that's always going to go with whatever my parents may say, and then they end up developing, okay, I'm my own person. I have my own likes and my own interests. I They end up changing. Sometimes I've even spoken to a couple of parents where they're like they don't even know who their child is anymore because of how
Mm.
much they've changed, you know?
Oh, wow. Mr. Hamilton.
Yes. I'm just going to add addition to what Caitlin said. I think in addition to that, a lot of parents need to have a lot of patience and grace for their children. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. Remember, at this age is a very sensitive time for young adults. And at this time, personally, for me, I feel like they have like years before they can fully understand what their identity are. I think study was done that at the age of 23 or 24 or 25 is when the mind is fully developed.
Mm,
So even before you reach that age, you're still learning. The child is still finding out who they are, what they like, what they dislike. So I think from my perspective, parents need to have a lot of grace when it comes to their children because this is a very sensitive time in their life.
those are some powerful insights. And that's clear that misunderstandings can shape how both sides communicate. But now let's get into this here. I do want to flip this. What do young people sometimes misunderstand about their parents, Mr. Hamilton?
Oh, I am so happy you called my name with this one. Listen. Sometimes, well, let me speak for myself. Sometimes I feel like at that age, remember it's a very sensitive year. I feel like parents can be like judging you and very dogmatic with certain things, like they're over you, just trying to look at every mistake you make and trying to chastise you with that mindset. Now, maybe in my parents' case, when they were growing up, it worked. It helped shape them and mold them into the persons who they are. But we're a new generation. Certain things that they did in their generation won't work for us. So again, that's why I think it's so important for parents to have grace um, with their kids at this age. I just feel like sometimes our parents kind of like they're very dramatic and very like yeah, it's very dramatic and it's like it's kind of overbearing at times because it's like they want us to do the right things, but we still need a sense of freedom in order to make mistakes, to learn from those mistakes, right? That's why I think it's again, it's important for parents to have patience with their
Okay,
children at this sensitive age.
got you, got you. Okay, so let's keep this conversation going.
I also think that some things that some of the children can that they should be better at understanding, children, young adults, that they should be better at understanding with their parents is that it was a completely different time and there wasn't as much support as there is now. There wasn't as much awareness about a lot of things as there is now. Like, for example, there's a lot of we are a lot more aware about mental health issues, whereas back then it was kind of like, oh, like, what are you talking about? Like, if someone wanted to go to a therapist back then, there was a lot of stigma surrounding that. People would kind of think like, oh, is there something wrong with you? Like, it wasn't encouraged. Whereas now, if someone is experiencing stress, anxiety, it's like, oh, you should go. It's like people are like, yes, you definitely should go see a therapist. Maybe they can help you manage that. Whereas back then, there wasn't that type of support. And I feel like because of that, like Jafet was saying, the parents, they would just have this mindset like, okay, just pushing through it, keep pushing through it. And it's like if they were having a crisis, they would just keep trying to keep going and not necessarily taking that time to take better care of themselves. Like they don't really, I feel as though there wasn't as much of an emphasis on self-care. It was more like just work hard, work hard, be able to make enough money to take care of your family. And that was really like the main focus.
Got you, got you.
And I think in addition to what Kathan said, I don't, to me personally, I don't know if it's really our parents' fault why they didn't place a lot of emphasis on mental health back then, because I feel like maybe between the year 2019, 2020 is when emphasis was more placed on mental health. When COVID came around, people were more depressed because we had to stay inside, and because we had to stay inside, people got more depressed. So that's why emphasis was placed more on mental health. But I don't know if we should really say it's our parents' fault that they didn't have that emphasis on mental health like 50 years ago or 40 years ago. It's maybe something that they weren't used to doing.
Okay, okay. It's interesting how both sides often feel unheard, even though they want the same thing. Okay, Samantha, communication seems to be a major theme here. Okay, how can you communicate between? How can parents communicate with young adults?
Hmm. Before we move on, I just wanted to elaborate on what the Hamilton said about, when it came to the parents. I just want to say that I feel like the mental strain and the strength it takes for the children to now learn that, okay, I have to not empathize with you because you lack the skills that I have the accessibility to today. I think that te- what is it? The children are now teaching the parents how to parent because they didn't have a guidebook. So I feel that a lot of times where what parents had to endure, because I think a lot of times where when parents have traumatic experiences, they only know how to deal with it how they know how to deal with it in that time. But like I said, everybody was on this earth for the first time ever. But that doesn't mean you have to dwell in that trauma and that negativity and that space of you not growing just because you want to be stubborn, because you want to be dedicated to the culture. I don't think you need to be dedicated to that aspect when you could just be better. I think that you have to learn how to adapt. So I just want to say, yes, I empathize with you. I'm so sorry things happen to you, but things are happening to us too. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we can, yes, us young people today,
Mm-hmm.
some of them are a little soft. Some of them, we can really drag it out. Some of the things that they be crying about, I'm like, okay, listen, genocide is happening. Stop crying just because you didn't get your game. There's full blown genocide. Relax. Just sometimes we need to toughen up our kids, but at some point we have to empathize with our parents. So I think that it comes into a point we both need to work together,
Mm-hmm.
where we need to do better for our children, show for our children,
Mm-hmm.
not be so selective in how we want to raise our children. Like, oh, you can do this, but I don't want you to do that. You can't be hypocritical with your kids. If you're gonna have a kid, you have to deal with everything that comes with having a child and raising a child. And the child should respect the boundaries and the rules and regulations and the standards that come with a parent and
Mm-hmm.
how they should also be led and so they can be good as well.
Okay, now since we're talking about this communication, then how can communication between parents and young adults improve?
We have to be open minded, lower the resistance. I know
Okay.
sometimes accountability is a big, strong word, and we have to really sit there and be like, okay, all right, you have to really just sit down and say, I'm, and it kills some of these other people. Because sometimes you
You
would
talking
tell
about the
them,
parents.
the parents, because you tell them they did something wrong, it's like you cursing at them. I'm like, if you have a discussion with them, you make a point, and it's like you're rude. I'm rude for making a point that's valid. Or sometimes when you have these conversations with them, you make a point and they're just like, oh, you think you're better than me? I don't think I'm better than you, but
Okay.
I'm
So
making,
you're
yes,
saying to be right. So you're saying that
yeah.
open-mindedness.
Yes, you have to really be
Okay.
open-minded because you're expressing yourself. So I'm literally being vulnerable with you for the first
Mm-hmm.
time. So maybe you should take it into consideration because I'm your kid. Like
Mm-hmm.
direct bloodline should be here. So therefore, I should empathize with you, empathize with me. Let's look at what the traumas are happening with how we were raised. Why was it happening? How we can overcome it. So that means when I'm making moves, you're not thinking in your mind, oh, she's always like this, but you're not understanding why she's acting the way that she's acting because of the space that you put her in. So you have
Okay.
to be open minded. You got to communicate.
Okay. I like this conversation here with the communication. No, let me go to the other panelists here. How can the communication between parents and young adults improve?
I think it's important to also, for like the parents, they have to make time to talk to their children, ask questions about whatever it is that they're interested in. And then also ask follow-up questions. Like, let's say I have a conversation with my mom. The next day or a couple days later, she'll be like, "Oh, so how did this go? Or how did that go?" To me, that shows me that she was listening. That shows me that she actually cares about what I'm talking about. I would also say, like, be an active listener. Sometimes I think for some parents, they kind of just they want to be heard, but they're not really listening well. And I
Mm,
think sometimes you just have to really just sit there and just listen and reflect and also try to emphasize as well. Like, how was it like when I was their age? What was I thinking? Like, what feelings was I going through at that time? Maybe they're like this too. Or just try to get try to get the perspective of your child as well. Just kind of be like, okay, how did you feel about this? And then just listen to that and think, okay, how would I feel? Okay, and then work from there. I think it's sometimes I feel like some people they kind of overcomplicate it, and I think it starts at the basics, which is just being a good listener, emphasizing and making sure to always ask questions, follow up to show that you care.
I like that. So, Samantha is saying that you need to be open-minded. You're saying being a active listener, which will improve communication. I mean, a lot of times parents, they're talking, but they won't stop for a moment and to listen to what the child is saying is what I'm hearing from you. Okay, that is good. Let me hear from Mr. Hamilton.
I think in addition to that, there needs to be a balance as well. I think some parents, a lot of times what they do is that they try to be friends with their kids. That could be a good thing and a bad thing because if you try to give too much leeway to your child, then it's like the child starts to run over you, right? You still have to remember that you have to guide this child in the right way. But if you try to give the child too much leeway, you want to be their friend, their best friend, you want to dress like them, you want to talk like them, you want to act like them, then there's some complications there. So on based on my take on it, I think there needs to be a balance between guidance and also being, of course, open-minded and listening to them. So there has to be a balance there. Don't be too friendly with your child.
Okay, better communication.
Also, what
Go ahead.
about smothering? I think when it comes to parents and smothering, that triggered me.
So,
Smothering. I think a lot.
wait a minute, but what's wrong with smothering? So let's go
Then,
into
okay, y'all
smothering.
remember that show on TLC when the daughter was like, "Oh, you're getting married?
Uh-huh.
I need to be in the wedding dress too." Like the parent is now, it becomes an obsession. I think it comes back to culture. Everything dies back to culture because sometimes the moms be so obsessed with the daughters to the point where it's like
But
they
they're
can't
happy.
breathe. No,
They're happy for their daughters. So they want the mothers want. I believe. Go ahead, Samantha. Go ahead. Go ahead.
he's condoning. He's condoning.
But the mothers want what's best for the child, right? They want them to have a
No,
happy
that's
life
not
and
what's
happy
best. That's
wedding.
not what's
Okay.
best.
Okay.
Because a lot of times it comes back to where you were as a child. If you were
Okay.
neglected, you weren't getting anything. And when you
Okay.
have a child, you try to live what you didn't get through your child. So now
Oh,
you're
got you.
pulling back and now you're like, you're obsessed. And it comes
Got
back
you.
to also if you have a boy children and girl children, now the boys are like now presented as the golden child and the daughters have to go through so much traumatic experiences just so they can make up for what they lost in their childhood.
Mm,
So like you're creating this pattern
mm.
where you're just not really creating health and wealth for the child for the
Well, you know
future.
what, Samantha, you said something very, I mean, it's great that you mentioned this because maybe we can have a future conversation on this where parents are
Mm-hmm.
living through the eyes of their children. They're trying to live their lives through the eyes of their children,
They want
and
their
that can actually,
friends
right.
like going out with your friends. My friends are not your friends, but I understand the safety of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're a child who went through something traumatic, you want to be involved. But my friends are not your friends. Your friends are not my friends. But I get we grew up together. I get that dynamic. But there's
Okay.
supposed to be a bridge where it's like, okay, I'm gonna
Got
hang out with my friends that are my age. You stay home and knit or watch, I don't know, soap operas, Bold and the Beautiful. I don't know what to tell you, but you
got
need
you.
your life. You need your life as a grown woman.
Okay. All right, but better communication can change an entire tone of a relationship. So we have to communicate better, both the young adult and the parent. We have to
Right.
have some common ground. We have to bridge that gap. Okay, let's talk about something that shapes every relationship, respect. Let's talk about respect. What role does respect play in maintaining a healthy relationship on both sides? Not just one, both sides. What role does it play in maintaining a healthy relationship on both sides?
I think respect is a very important key aspect when it comes to a child and their parents.
Mm-hmm.
I heard of a incident, it wasn't this week, it was last week, of a daughter. She had this tendency of disrespecting her mom. So anytime she needs something or she's out with her friends, she always disregards her mom when it comes to certain conversations that they're having. And her mom just takes it. Her mom doesn't like fight it. Her mom doesn't put her foot down. None of that stuff. Her mom is just like, oh, but that's not the right thing to do. But her daughter doesn't respect her because it's like she's not putting her foot down. So her daughter isn't taking her serious. But I think respect is a very key important aspect to both the parent and the child because it helps to maintain some level of equilibrium in the household. Because if the well, in that case, it was the daughter. If the daughter is disrespecting the mother, the place will be toxic. I mean, there won't be no peace. There'll always be a level of argument, and the household won't be a happy household. So I think
Okay.
that respect is important in that aspect to keep the equilibrium in check. Yes.
Okay.
Hmm. Do you, well, that's the case, Mr. Hamilton. Don't you think it also, if it's not just the child being deliberately disrespectful, don't you think also depending on the dynamic of the relationship, it could just be a natural vendetta and it
Mm.
could just be grown. It could just be a grown feeling towards the child where the parents are not willing to accept where they fell short, and then the child has grown a vendetta where they're not heard. So that disrespect is not disrespect. I think it's just like the relationship is just off. The dynamic is off. It's weird. It's just negative. Every encounter is just negative because immediately your mind is triggered. Nervous system is out of shock because naturally you're uncomfortable with this person. So whatever you do now, it's like, oh my gosh, you're talking to me. And then it's like, it's just a natural response. And you tend to feel bad, but it's just like, we haven't healed or mended that relationship. So I'm always going to have that vendetta towards you because everything we talk about is negative. You're never seeing it from my point of view, not being open minded. You're still being the same way you've been 10 years plus. So of course there's going to be that natural vendetta towards each other because we're not willing to heal. So
So
that
you're saying,
disrespect can tie into the dynamic of the relationship. So it could not be disrespect, but it still is disrespect to some degree because of the vendetta.
okay. So you're saying based on a previous relationship or maybe how our relationship is now, you're not hearing me. You're always talking. Like Kathleen said, you're not listening. And so since you're
Right.
not listening, I have built up this, maybe I'm not listening to you now. So it's not
Yeah. Hmm.
disrespecting. It's
It's
just more
not.
now. So you're saying
It's
that's not disrespect. It's just I want you to listen to me, but you're not. So therefore, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, and it's just a natural response. It will happen every single time. And if you actually see how people manage, even with husbands and wives, they always have it's just negative. There's no love, there's no peace because they have not solved the issue that happened. So even if you try to even now be open-minded and talk to them nicely, their nervous system, how they are inside spiritually, they're like, you're being kind. It's still negative. So if you're either way, it's still going to have that little negative reaction, even if you try to be positive about it, because they're so used to negativity. So now you're just like, you're trying to be nice.
Hmm.
Now my guard is up even more. So now I'm going to attack you even more. So now you have to lower your resistance. They're not lowering. It's
Hmm.
just this cat and mouse game. So it comes back to me communication.
Okay. Okay. Let me hear what Catlin has to say.
I definitely think that respect is necessary from both sides. So like as a young adult, when I respect my parents, I'm going to listen to what they say. I'm going to ask for their opinion on things. I'm actually interested in um, whatever it is that they want to share with me. And I feel like it's a little difficult because I'm not a parent, but like I would assume like from my parents' perspective towards me, when they have respect for me, they respect my boundaries. Like if I say no, I don't want to go to this place, or I don't really want to be around this person or whatever, they're gonna be like, okay, I hear you. I'm not gonna try to like force you to do something that you don't want to do. I also think that they would respect my personal space, so they're not going to like if I say like, hey, I kind of need this time to myself, they're not gonna barge in and interrupt
Mm.
whenever I'm do whatever activity I might be doing. They're gonna be like, okay, I understand you need your space. Let me just see myself out, you know. So that's how I
Okay.
think it might be in the relationship.
Wow. Where are you
Oh.
from? Where you from again, girl? Where your parents from?
My parents are Caribbean.
Wow. Guys, prime example, boundaries.
Yeah,
Some of your
boundaries
friends
are
don't know
good.
boundaries.
Right. And respect is deserved on both sides. So the young person
Right,
needs the respect, but the young person also needs to respect the parents as well. See, a lot
right.
of time, so do you feel that by living under your parents' roof, you can disrespect them?
No, I don't think so. No, definitely not. But like I said, it still happens. It
Hmm.
shouldn't happen. But if you're telling me that for that statement you just made, you're
Hmm.
now encouraging the child to escape
Okay.
that that space where it should be full of
Right.
love. Because in some
Right.
cultures, especially Indian cultures, there's some daughters and sons who still live with their parents in their 30s and their 40s.
Exactly. That's true.
There should I should not be waiting till I'm 20, 30s. Now when you get older, I should be dropping you off in a home. No, you should be living together.
Okay.
I think that we're encouraging our kids to leave. Like 18, you gotta get out. But it's like, why don't you just work on wanting them to feel love so they should want to stay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't encourage them to want to just don't push them away. Create the space where they don't want. I don't want to be out there in the world. I'm happy where I am. But
Right.
no,
Right. Right. So that respect is needed. Respect creates a foundation where trust can grow. Okay. All right. So now let's break into this independence. Since Samantha, you said let's create this safe space where I don't want to go. I don't want to go out there and pay no bills. I want to stay right here. I want to stay in home. Everything is all right. So how
right.
can the young adult express independence without creating conflict?
Well, I'll be honest, it's two ways. You can either communicate it and really sit down with your
Uh-huh.
parent, or you can take your freedom. Now,
Okay.
when I say take your freedom, I mean I think this is like a trend going on, like this Haitian trend, right? And then like the kids are like, oh, I have tattoos, I get the locks. Like they're just doing everything the child, like the parents just despise. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a way for the parents to see the rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
like them being rebellious as a way for them to say, okay, they're not making jokes, they're for real. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes you have to make a statement for them to realize, okay, she's not playing no games, or you
Right.
can sit down and have an communication or conversation with them. So I think there's two ways about it how you can talk to them.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I think that one way to kind of start showing a bit of independence and
Mm-hmm.
I guess getting your parents accustomed to it is just having a lot of transparency. Like, for example, if you are going to an event at such and such time, you let them know, like, hey, I'm going to this event. Um, and you kind of communicate with them. Like, you let them know, like, okay, you can, like, if your parents have a curfew, you want to make sure that you respect that curfew and that you show up at, either before or at that time. So that way they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be upset and wondering what happened to you, where did you
Mm-hmm.
go, this and that. And I feel like once when you start showing them that you're responsible,
Mm-hmm.
you're sharing things with them, they don't have to try to like run after you to find out where are you, what time are you going to come back, this and that. Like they don't have to keep asking you these type of questions. It naturally just happens in conversation. I think they're going to start feeling a lot more like, okay, she seems as though she's got, I can trust her to be out there, like she's going to return back home like she said she would. I feel like that's going to start to establish more trust, and
Mm-hmm.
that will lead to you having more independence, at least.
Okay, so
Yeah.
being responsible is what you're saying.
Yeah.
When a young person is responsible, then that creates a space where the parents may loosen the reins, as they say. If you're with riding a horse and you want to give the horse more, so you will loosen the reins, right? So you're saying that if a young adult show the responsibility that they are responsible, then the parents will loosen those reins, give them a little more leeway, as you say. Okay, good, Mr. Hamilton.
Honestly, I feel I 100% agree with what Catherine say in terms of being responsible. Specifically in my case, how I got a level of independence,
Mm-hmm.
it started at home. Okay. I grew up in a single parent household. However,
Okay.
one thing that my mom realized that I started to do is that I started to do my schoolwork on my own from since in primary school to high school. So she said, okay, he's doing stuff by himself. He's getting good grades in school, so maybe I can give him more freedom. Which was kind of classified because I was still an inside person. But she was like, hey, you're inside all the time. You're doing your schoolwork by yourself. You seem to be doing well. Why not go out and just, explore the world by yourself? And I'm like, "Mm, I'm an inside person, but if you give me the freedom, sure." And I mean, even though I had the freedom, it's not like I went out and do craziness. I didn't, but because she trusted me in that case with the little things like
Mm-hmm.
schoolwork, she had that confidence in me to say, "Hey, you're doing well in school. I'm going to give you this freedom to go out there and just make a name for yourself." And I did, and it worked out pretty well. But it starts from the little things. In my
Okay.
case, it was schoolwork.
Well, that's great. That's good.
So
That's very interesting because the little things, because We're reminded also in the Bible that little things become much. You know, and also if you're faithful in the little things, then you'll be trusted with bigger things. You know, so that is
Exactly.
a universal principle, actually. You know, okay, I love that.
So I have a quick question then, Brother Hamid, because here's the thing. Yes, independence can not only just be financial, it can also, like I said, it could be mental.
Yeah.
And you have when you're showing the parent, even if you're showing it, don't you think the the parent has to also have some type of security within themselves because of the how do I say this? The mentality of what your parents where they are and you're doing everything right. Sometimes what do you do in the sense for them to loosen their grip a little bit, even if you're doing everything right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there could be something wrong with them
Mm-hmm.
and they just can't fully grasp that my child is doing everything.
Okay,
She's literally being
so
mature.
Kathleen mentioned being responsible, but you're saying, what if you are being responsible and they still are not loosening the reins?
Yeah, because sometimes what was going on with them, and they're just like, oh, you know what, my child, she's doing everything right, and I'm losing control. Like it could be a control thing for them. Like they
Okay.
just have to have some sense of control,
Mm,
especially if you're a daughter. And that's another thing when you're playing gender roles when it comes to kids. So even though growing up in a single, parent household, it could have been different
hmm.
because the responsibilities are different for you versus me when I grew up in a two-parent household. But like I said, the
Right.
dynamics and the relationships are different, and the
Hmm.
control is still like that. They're still hovering over you just
Right.
because you're a daughter, you know?
Well, then, well, that goes back to our previous question, communication. If a parent is not loosening the reins, as you say, and you know you're being responsible, then that's where communication would come in, right? That's where Samantha would sit down and say, Mom, Dad, we need to have a conversation. You know, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm being responsible, but I really feel that you are not loosening the reins. You're not giving me enough space, more space, the space that I need to even grow or even make a mistake. So it goes back to our previous comment question of communication. And then also it
Okay.
ties in, hold on.
Okay.
It also ties in with that respect now,
Okay.
where both parent and young adult are respecting each other. So mom and dad say, you know what, Samantha, I hear what you're saying, and you know what, it is right. You've done this, you've done that, and I'm happy. You know what, that is right. You know what, we're gonna loosen those reins. We're gonna give you more room. We're gonna give you more space because we see you are being responsible. So with the communication may come respect. And the respect may be in the form of we're going to loosen these reins. We're going to give her more responsibilities. We're going to create that balance.
Okay, now what if they cannot? I'll get more specific. You're a father, you have a daughter. Let's say you were not the best man back in your time before you became a father. Now,
I,
now, for example, I'm gonna get very specific.
Go ahead.
You're a man, you were a man, you were
Go
doing
ahead.
what you were doing, and now you have a daughter. You were treating women the ways you would not want your daughter to be treated.
Mhm.
So then now you have created a space where your daughter cannot breathe because of what you were doing. You wouldn't want it done to her. But then again, you're assuming and projecting that all men are like that because you were dwelling in that space
Mhm.
so much to the point where you can't fully grasp there's anything better. So you just think everything is the way you were doing it because that's just how you were handling it.
Well,
So now you're just
well,
stubborn.
I'm glad you turned the table. So now I will respond. And in fact, I have
Okay.
two daughters. I have two daughters.
Okay.
One daughter's in college, the other daughter's in 11th grade. My daughters
Okay.
will tell you that daddy always told them the mistakes that he made growing up, the things that he did. My daughters will tell you that. And I also tell them to look out for certain cues because, see, the one thing I've learned, the game doesn't change, the players do. And
Mm.
so therefore, I tell them certain cues to look out for. If you hear this word, it means this. Okay, you don't have to go and give yourself to a guy so quickly because they tell you something, you look beautiful and things like that. You understand? So I tell them about the mistakes that their daddy did make growing up, and they are full aware of that. Trust me. And but I also I don't tighten them. But what I do, I try to inform them on certain things to look out for, certain cues, certain words. So I'm that type of dad. I'll be honest with you.
Shout out to you, man. Shout
Yeah,
out to you.
if you ever see my children, you can ask them that. They'll tell you. I give them a lot of experiences that I've encountered and the things that I've done growing up. I let them know that.
Right.
Okay,
And parents don't come with like raising a child doesn't come with a manual.
it
And like
doesn't.
I said, sometimes people just make these decisions solely based on
Hmm.
the environment that they're in and the
Hmm.
influence. But it's good that some men are willing to get up out of it and be a better example for their children and
That's
for
true.
themselves. And some
That's
people
true.
just don't stay in it. That's what I'm saying. Some
Right.
people just want to stay in problems. They don't want to evolve and be a better person who they once were.
Okay. And independence doesn't have to mean distance. Okay.
Right,
It doesn't have to be distance. Okay. Now, on
right.
the other side of that, though, on the other side, let's look at this. How can parents give guidance without making young adults feel controlled? How can parents give guidance without making young adults feel controlled? Because I may
I
just
think
be guiding. I just may be providing some guidance. I'm not controlling you, but I'm telling you how you should maybe handle a situation. That's not controlling the way you should think. So come on, talk to me, panelists. How can parents give guidance without making young adults feel controlled?
I think Hamilton should take this one.
I'm scratching my head too because this is what a
Yeah,
question.
this one.
Wow. Yeah, it comes back to balance. You need to, again, the first thing I said was given a level of grace and patience with your child.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of parents, well, previous generations, so basically our parents, I don't think they understood how to like give guidance without being controlling because when they were growing up, that's all they knew. That's all they knew from their
Mm.
parents. So it's like they're basically bringing down that parenting style to us. So
Okay.
there has to be a balance. How you execute that balance, it's left up to, the parents themselves, but there has to be a
Mm-hmm.
balance to start off with. That's what I'm going to say, that there has to be a balance
Okay.
between
All right. So
between.
that balance. Okay. Anyone else?
One thing that my dad will sometimes do, like whenever I'm talking to him about a situation that I'm in or an issue, he'll be like, "Well, here's my take. This is my advice. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. This is how I feel. This is how I would handle it. Again, you're an adult, so, you do as you please, but this is how I would do it." So that's usually how my dad would go about it. I think maybe, just letting them know like, okay, here's my opinion. At the end of the day, you're gonna do what you feel is best, but at any point, always feel free to come back and talk to me. I feel like just kind of letting your child know like, okay, there's always like this open door policy regardless of whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good way to go about it. Just letting
I
them know
love I
anything
love when my
happens.
children will come to me and ask a question, to be honest with you, Catlin. I love it when they will come to me. And I ask them and I encourage, I say, listen, remember, I'm here. Whatever you're going through, if you need to talk to me, let me know because remember, your daddy may be older, but trust me, I still know the game. I may not be in it, but I still know it. Okay. But I want you to come and talk to me. Don't be afraid not to come and talk to me. Trust me. Sometimes I'll go say, "You sure nothing is going on? Are you sure?" Because I'm a parent that pays attention to body language. Be honest with you. So if one of my daughters are showing a body language that I'm not used to seeing, that kind of throws me off, and I say, "Are you sure everything okay? Remember now, you can come and talk to me." So parents love when their children come back and talk to them and ask them those questions. And we're going to provide that guidance. But sometimes the young people may think we're trying to control them by providing guidance. Samantha, talk to me.
I would say that I don't think guidance is a sense of control because if we can talk Bible, sound doctrine, the reason
Mm-hmm.
why we have the Bible, we need to have order. You need
Mm-hmm.
to have some form of order. I mean, you cannot just have people running rampant, rambunctious, just doing whatever, having chaos. There needs to be
Mm-hmm.
order and structure. That is the only way you're going to survive in life.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to having parents, I think they do need to learn how to sit with themselves and look deep into what they went through and learn not to just make their trauma and their past their current identity. I think that's where it starts with. You need to not let the things you don't like about yourself become your identity. Because when you make it your identity, that's all people are going to see. You cannot always wear emotions on your sleeves. So that's what I would say firstly. It's okay to have some type of guidance. The child should know that, hey, I'm just trying to give you right from wrong. And there's gonna be sometimes we're gonna have those parents where they're just stuck in their ways. They're just stuck
Yeah.
with who they are. The boomer thing that everybody talks about. You can never give a boomer an iPad and tell them do this. There's just some things that they're just not gonna do. And it's okay if they're stubborn and stuck in their ways. But it's our job as the child to respect that, you know what, this is who you are. I trust that you're not gonna change unless God intervenes or you're willing to make that step. So I think instead of us trying to force you to do better for me, I'm gonna trust that this is who you are and I need to learn how to maneuver around you so I protect my sanity and you do not make yourself worse in the process. So I'm trying to help me, help you, help yourself, help me.
Okay. So as we wrap up, let's bring this all together. What advice would you give to families trying to strengthen their relationship? Let's bring it home. Let's bring it all together. Everything that we've just talked about. What advice would you give to families trying to strengthen their relationship?
The first thing I would say is communicate with your child. A level of respect needs to be there. I know maybe, in your previous generation that wasn't taught, which is understandable, but a level of communication needs to be there, and a level of balance also needs to be in the equation as well. So balance and communication and respect.
Okay.
Definitely be comfortable with being an active listener on both sides. I think sometimes we say like, okay, parents are they're trying to be controlling this and that, but I also feel like for the young adult, they may not be open to listening. They may think that their mindset, their thought patterns are like better than everything else. They know how to handle anything and life will find a way to humble you. So you have to be like open and receptive and just remember that your parents, they have your best interests at heart. They know you better than, the only person who knows you better would be God. After that is them. So they have your best interests at heart. So be open and willing to listen to them.
Okay.
I would say honestly, I guess everybody made great points, and I would just run it back to just really having an open mind. I think it comes down to healing. If you need to take some therapy, I think parents need to learn how to just step away from that cultural driven mindset and just learn how to work with their children. I think communication is important. All those are key important that the other panelists have, mentioned, but I think it comes down to you just sitting down with your child and just actually learning the behaviors of your kid, watching your kid, and just learning how to not see yourself in them and learn how to self-reflect. Before you
Okay.
communicate, I think you should watch yourself a little bit more so you can know how to approach your
Hmm.
child.
Great, great. This has been an interesting conversation. I thank you so much to Mr. Hamilton. I thank you so much, Kathleen. I thank you so much, Samantha. This has been a great conversation. As we wrap up episode 4, we want to thank our young panel for their honesty, your courage, and your service. The relationship between parents and young adults isn't always easy, but it's always worth investing in. With communication, respect, patience, and love, families can grow stronger together. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and supported the young people in their ministry. Don't forget, visit us at Coconut Grove Seventh-day Adventist Church. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell even the enemy. We're out there. We're talking to the young people. Tune in, and we'll see you next time for episode 5. Bye bye.